And that, yeah, I'm pretty sure that at that point would already have been completely and totally lost. How's our levels there, mister?
Little red.
A little red?
Little red.
You have the
All right.
controls, man, over there, so.
I see that.
Yes, you do. Do you remember which one I am? Oh, here, we're going. Yep, a little more, a little more.
Yeah.
Are we ready now? Am I green?
You were green.
Am I green?
Oh,
Hi,
my.
I'm John
Oh,
Simon.
wow, that was fun.
And I just probably went really red, didn't I?
you did.
Awesome. This is Tangents on Everything and Nothing. We got Jeremiah behind the counter, and with us from High Street Jack is Jack. How are you doing, Jack?
Very well. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I discovered you. Yes, I'll take claim for that. No, actually, we ran into each other at Stable Studios during one of their jam performances.
Right.
I approached as many of the bands as possible, saying, "Hey, come on the show," because what we do is we promote local artists, musicians, and all sorts of stuff. And we enjoyed your show, and here we are. But the rest of the band decided to stay back and do something else.
Yeah, well, everybody has work lives and everything. And I thought perhaps John might join me, but he
I'm
kind
right
of
here. Oh wait, other John.
the other John, yeah, the slide
Hi,
player.
John.
Yeah, but he kind of last minute had an opportunity that was cool. So
Oh yeah, I would definitely take that because you said he's rehearsing.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
rehearsing with another. He's going to sit in with another band at the Super Jam.
Phenomenal. And those who don't know, Super Jam May 28th, which is this weekend.
Saturday. If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
from 3 to 11, and you
Yeah.
guys are going to be playing at 5 o'clock,
Yeah,
right?
from 5 to 6
Yep.
we'll be on there.
Definitely check it out. That's a wonderful show. It's got a good lineup. Yeah. Be there for it.
We're really really excited. We love Stable Studios is one of my favorite places to play, if not my most favorite place to play. At the beginning of High Street Jack, a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, we hosted a blues jam night out there. It was somewhere in February, so literally right before the end of the world, as we knew it. And then there was some cell phone video taken of our set that night, and a lot of our more favorite or most viewed videos on YouTube are from that show.
Okay.
I think there's our version of Red House got over 400 views, maybe almost 500 by now. But
Awesome. Actually, I do like Stable Studios. I'm looking forward to them using that amphitheater.
yes,
This is going to be it's not their first show for it, but it's going to be their inauguration for it, their
Right.
christening,
yeah,
which is pretty awesome.
yeah. And for those who don't know, kind of the story behind it, I did catch your show with them talking about it some, but it's kind of in honor of Doug Hanscom,
Yep.
who used to live out there, and that show that I was referring to. That night when we played that show, John and I, the slide player, got there a little early, and Doug was hanging around, and they had just remodeled that apartment, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's really cool. Come check it out." And so he gave us a tour of his little apartment there, and he was and we'd met him before, obviously at blues jams and things, and he was just the coolest guy. Just forget the fact he was a great keyboard player, but he was a really cool human. And so, we were pretty devastated when we found out he suddenly passed away, and really wanted to play the memorial. And at one point we were going to, but they had to reschedule it several times, and we never got to. So in our set, though, for the Super Jam, we are going to play a song specifically in his memory.
Awesome. Now, Hanscom, he was a teacher, wasn't he, also locally?
Yeah.
'Cause the reason I'm saying is my sons had a teacher named Hanscom, and I just want to make sure I've got the right person and that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I knew nothing of his teaching career because I didn't know him until he was retired. But yeah, I've heard that the whole thing of I had a teacher that was this guy. The funny thing about I actually used to work with his nephew, or I should say his nephew used to work, had a desk outside my office at work, on my day job anyway. So I remember his nephew, Eric, saying, "Oh, yeah, my uncle, he plays," before I had ever met Doug.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's kind of a small world.
Speaking of, you got that CD handy? Question. Yep. All right. So this is your. I don't know how well can you see that. Is it in focus?
Yeah.
It's awfully shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that better? Still shinier?
You can clearly read High Street Jack on
Okay.
the CD, but the red is a little bit.
The red.
Yeah.
Black Hole Collection, High Street Jack. When was this released?
So that CD collection we released a few months ago. What it is, the reason it's titled collection is because it's really a collection of singles that have been released over the last couple of years. There was a EP called Live on High Street that we put out kind of as a 4-song set. Those songs are on there, but also a series of singles, which we've put out over time. The interesting thing about some of those songs, the Live on High Street EP, which is within that, was literally recorded at a rehearsal right before we went to play that show, before the end of the world happened. And I had just recently gotten a new recorder, a multi-track recorder, and so I took it to a practice and plugged stuff in. I thought, hit record. And so the 4 songs that were part of Live on High Street were literally a practice. And then when we couldn't do anything, I mean, for like a year, we didn't even get in the same room with each other because we didn't want to kill each other.
Yeah.
And so I spent time kind of taking that, and I did some extra vocal overdubs and some guitar overdubs to fatten it up or whatever. But yeah, that was the initial release, and then again, I was sort of starving for something to do, and so there's a handful of songs on there that are just entirely me doing all the different instruments. And that's, I released a few songs that way. And then once we got back together, there's a few more from us playing together.
Excellent. So it's got a little bit of history to it.
Yeah.
Say that one took a couple years to put together completely.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Will you be playing all those tracks at Stable Studios, or
No.
Okay. So that gives you all incentive to go and get it because it won't be at Stable Studios.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, we have played most of those at various shows at different points. This particular show, we're just going to kind of mix it up with some songs that we think will be crowd favorites. Interesting, and I'm not going to give away the set list, but
Unless you pay.
but a cool thing about High Street Jack is, although I more or less front the band and sing most of the songs, there are a handful of songs that Bob, our keyboard player, sing, and John, the slide player, sings. So about half of the songs I won't be singing. I'll put it that way. And so
I'll give you a break.
yeah, it gives me a break, and I think it's cool that we're a band that can do that.
I'm going to age myself here a little bit because Jeremiah likes old jokes.
Yes.
I'd actually seen Joan Jett and the Blackhearts once, and you'd be surprised how many of the songs she doesn't sing because her vocals just start hurting. And her guitarist, he sounds just like her.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's one
Wow.
of those, whoa, this is not right. But that was also talking just a couple decades ago, really, just a
Right.
couple.
I've
or
heard
three.
of them.
Yeah.
Are they on those 45 things that you guys used to talk about?
Oh, yeah, they're also on those things called 8 tracks.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah,
instead
yeah.
of just one, it had 8. Ooh. And then, do you remember those one hits from the early noughties?
The one-hit things I'm thinking of.
Oh, no, these were little toys that you had these MP3s on.
Okay.
You'd insert it, and it would only play on that device, and it usually only had like bubblegum pop bands on it. Yeah.
Okay.
I only bring that up because you're talking about obscure music anyway. So
Yeah.
great players. Yeah. So, on that note, yes, I have a record player. So
I would like to get a record player. My grandmother has one that's new. She bought it like new 10 years ago or something like that. because she still has a lot of old records.
Yeah.
She doesn't play them anymore, but it sits there.
Yeah. What's your opinion on vinyl versus digital versus
Oh,
whatever?
I have a record player.
Mm-hmm.
I play records on it, not for any sonic reason, but more because it's a totally different experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was first learning to play guitar, I remember I used to go over to my brother's also a musician, and I would bug his guitar player. I'd just show up at this guy's house. So I'm like 15, and I would just drive over to his house and be like, hey. And he was kind enough to show me some cool things. And I remember he put on, he's like, you got to check this out. And the song that he played me was Montrose, Rock Candy. I don't know if you
Yep.
probably know that. Anyway, my opinion, to this day, one of the greatest songs of all time. And I was like, yeah. And so, that's kind of like the one fundamental strand of my musical DNA, I would say. That Sammy Hagar vocal and not that I say I sound like that, but in terms of inspiration.
Good.
You said that's one strand.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Many strands, yes.
Well, yeah.
You might just as likely hear me listening to J.S. Bach. I'm not so into his kids, but definitely the old man is the thing for
Well,
me.
yeah, he was the original. He's got 9 kids. I think 7 of them had some kind of compositional history.
Right.
So,
But so I'm, and definitely with this band, we span several generations. So, Jason, our bass player, is in his 20s. I'm in my 40s. We got, other decades as well. But so everybody's musical experience is kind of different, what they listened to growing up, and whatever really touched them, and everybody kind of brings that. And then obviously there's things that I'm into that the other guys aren't, and so forth. So what's kind of left is what's the common denominator, and that's this kind of soulful blues rock kind of thing that we do.
Okay. Yeah, I like it when there's a diverse range of players because you get all those different points of view. And yes, age can definitely influence your music differently. But I also like seeing people who are like me who can still sit there and look at the contemporary music and find those nuggets that are really good, and then get that sort of influence as well.
Yeah. And so I think it's definitely a cool mix. These guys. Just to maybe take it back to the formation of the band to some degree, when we had been this other band under a different name, and our bass player at the time, who's a really nice guy, just decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to, kind of relax and play golf. He's, a retired guy.
Kind of like the drummer for the Rolling Stones, the only one who actually started wearing suits.
Right. Yeah. So anyhow, we actually were going to play. It's funny now that I think about it, but we had the gig for the Super Jam, whenever that was, a couple years ago, and it was kind of soon before that gig when he said, "I don't want to play anymore," and so we were in a bit of a panic, and I knew Jason from, there's a weekly blues jam around the Bloomington, and a lot of players meet each other there. That's where I met John. And anyhow, called up Jason and said, "Hey, can you do this gig with us?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And since then, he's been in the band.
Awesome. What other venues do you play locally?
So we played at the Porthole. We played down at the Steel Horse in Bedford, which is a really fun place to play too. I think it may be, I don't know, they've got some issues with their lease. I don't know if it's going to remain there or not. Where else do we play? Fairfax Inn is a cool place to play. I'll be honest, there aren't a lot of places to play for, bands. There's, some of the clubs only hire like regional touring, like Bluebird or something. That's all that they bring through.
Yeah. Have you thought of places like Blockhouse and the Bishop? Because I know they do a lot of local stuff.
I have approached them. It's funny. Sometimes it's hard to get a call back, and you can't unless you know the right person
Right.
to actually check it out.
Oh, I know some of the venues are looking for how many followers do you really have?
Yes.
Can you
yes.
guarantee people coming in? Can you guarantee people the right age coming in?
Right.
It's hard getting that.
It's really hard getting that, especially for a band like us in our demographic. The people that are most excited about our music are not that excited about social media. So,
Right.
yeah, we have a few hundred followers on Facebook, but the majority of the people that show up to hear us play are, they get there by word of mouth, or they're kind of will ask us, "Hey, when are you guys playing again?" We're playing Fairfax Inn or whatever, But we usually have. I feel like every time we play out, we bring a crowd with us, but it's a good way to make new fans. We had a really great response at the last gig we played, which was at the Fairfax Inn. A lot of the folks there were like, "Oh yeah, we love the song choices, and the performance is great." So it's nice to hear that feedback, but club owners, like you say, they're just looking at how many followers do you have. So for all of you music lovers that want to be able to go out and see good music that you haven't seen 5 times already, you can go to our Facebook and check us out. But anybody that you enjoy, it's really important that you acknowledge them on social media, because that's how bar owners,
Right.
value things.
Well, I'm going to jump to something here because you had said earlier that you suffer from gas pretty badly. Would you like to show us some of the examples that some of your syndromes that have come out of this? Yeah.
This is safe for work. You don't have to turn away.
For definition purposes, gas means guitar acquisition syndrome.
Yeah, I had to throw it in there, so. Oh, and for those of you who are interested on the YouTube channel, the playlist or a link to their YouTube channel is in the description. So, yeah, follow that. Now, which one is this one?
So,
How is it in the picture?
Not.
Okay,
Up.
bring it up.
There you go.
all right, so this is Goldie, because it's a Les Paul Gold Top, and my excuse, or the reason I had to have this one is because it has these magnetron pickups in it, and I didn't have anything with magnetron pickups, and I love Les Pauls for a couple of reasons I'll explain. But anyway, I thought, I need that one. And the thing about not just this, but all of my Les Pauls that I do, which is pretty important to the sounds that I go for, is that I mount little switches right here inside the little pickup.
Nice.
And what that is doing, I mean, it's not that exotic, really. A lot of people have push-pull pots, and for coil splitting, because you have 2 coils here. And the idea is if you split them, it makes the sound of like a single coil pickup, or like a Strat Telly. And a lot of times, what I will do is I may have like a fully raunchy, distorted sound, and I'll go to the neck pickup. I'll put it in single. I'll put the back in double, and I'll roll the volume back, and then for I get kind of a half clean, you know, sound like that for, you know, maybe the verses or whatever. And then when I really want to go for it, I don't change anything on my pedal board, and I just hit the rhythm pickup, and then it totally alters the sound. That's the other reason I love Les Pauls, is because you have a volume for each pickup and a tone control for each pickup. So there's a lot of tonal possibilities. But anyway.
That is actually a whole podcast unto itself.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, this is Goldie. I drove all the way to Illinois to buy it from this guy who is in a cool band called Old Capitol. The other interesting thing that was transformative about when I bought this, I picked it up and I played it, and I was like, what kind of strings are those? And it turned out, he's like, well, those are 9.5s. And I've been playing for decades, and no one told me about 9.5. You know, like, because when I was coming up, most people kind of, you know, no one played 9s because they were kind of just wimpy. And there was kind of a masculinity thing about playing thicker and thicker strings. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan, who everybody wanted to kind of sound like, played super heavy strings, right? But most people who kind of fished around kind of said, 10s, it's good. And I was one of those guys. So
Yeah.
anyway.
When I played, I was guilty of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, 9.5s. And the reason that I like 9.5s and have started to put them on my guitars is they are chimey sounding.
Mm-hmm.
So especially trying to get the sound that I'm always kind of going for, it's not so meaty and beefy. It's got a little bit of chime to it, and it doesn't feel like you're playing wet spaghetti noodles, you know, because they're so light. Yeah, so really what I'm always kind of going for is a guitar that is a, you know, stratified Telecasting Les Paul. You know, so I can kind of playing in bar bands, you need to instantly go from one of those sounds to another, because you don't have a dude on the side of the stage to hand you another.
Yeah. And setting the tones for every bar is going to be different. So.
Yeah. So anyway, this is Goldie, and that's the story of Goldie.
Nice.
She's a beaut.
Oh, yeah. I do believe you brought two, correct?
Yeah, the other one, just an acoustic, which I don't always play unless I'm, you know, doing a solo thing. Maybe sometimes John and I do a duo thing, but this is kind of an interesting guitar. It's pretty. So I think the most interesting about this was, you know, forever I told my wife, you know, I'd really love a nice acoustic, and she just sort of like, why don't you just buy one? Like, oh.
Really? I can?
I bought this from some guy on Craigslist, and when I bought it, the bridge was all kind of pulling up, and I took it to a shop, and they put something in there, and it's been completely solid since then. But it is you know, it's a Washburn, so it's not anything totally exotic, but
Oh, nice choice in the wood grain, though. It's pretty,
Yeah.
It's very pretty.
yeah, so it's, you know, I think it's important to just have something that inspires you to play, and, you know, if it looks cool on the wall, then you're, I think, more likely to pick it up.
Jeremiah, opinions on that one?
I like it.
Very detailed as usual.
Yeah. Well, it's an eye catcher, and I
Yeah.
think that'll come, like you said, it makes you want to pick it up, put hands on it, and in a bar or other kind of setting, it catches people's eye. It's like, ooh, what's he got now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a nice one. Sweet.
I like the wood looking on the edge, the fringe
Yeah.
of it.
You can see where the darker grain is, and
Mhm.
yeah, that was interestingly
Yeah,
stressed life. What?
One downfall, however, of the beauty of the guitar, I mean, you know, a rather important element is the dots along the binding here.
And they're completely blending in.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so every now and then I actually dab some white out. It wears off.
That's okay. That's okay.
It wears off, you know, so it's not permanent, but it's nice. It's nice to kind of have some mile markers when you're
Right.
playing.
Yeah.
So.
Very nice.
So yeah, but the number one guitar before I got Goldie was again thinking of the stratified Telecasting Les Paul Gold. I had I still have it, but it's a Les Paul Custom with a maple fretboard, which is pretty unusual, and and a Floyd Rose tremolo, which is, you know, there are people out there that would say that's just wrong, but yeah, I really just wanted the maple fretboard to get, you know, have that option of a janglier sound.
For those who are watching me look down, yes, I'm looking at my phone because it's a great place to put notes. Honestly, we don't really put a lot of notes in the show. It is just to see where the conversation goes. But I like the points you brought up, so I want to make sure we're touching them. And I'm going to move immediately into the whole idea of slide guitar.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we play live, I do not play slide. On some of the recordings, the ones that I played all by myself, I did try to put placeholder slide guitar in. So a couple of the songs on there have me playing slide guitar, but really that was just so I would have something in place for when John
could finally replace it.
Yeah. Anyhow, the cool thing again about John is that he and I really fit together well.
Okay.
He actually is the most recent addition to the band. We used to have a guy named Andrew who was a rhythm guitar player. Wonderful guy, but for various reasons, just wasn't able to continue playing. And I really liked having another guitarist to, you know, make the sauce interesting. And John is definitely that. You know, he kind of has the luxury of not really having to play because, you know, I'm doing the basic rhythm. There's a keyboard player that's doing stuff. And so it kind of frees him up to, you know, do these cool things in between phrases and a lot of that kind of thing. And, you know, a lot of the magic of slide guitar is, for one, you have to tune your guitar wrong. You know, and sometimes he even uses a capo. So those are two things that I don't do. You know, the notes are where they should be on my guitars. And, you know, the whole point of changing the tuning is that you get sympathetic ringing.
Harmonies.
Yeah. So, whereas, I mean, you can, and when I'm alone in my room, I sometimes play standard tuning slide by myself, but you have to choke down a lot and you can't let things ring out. And, you know, what John does is very tasteful. And if you've never had the opportunity to listen to a band with a slide guitar player, it is its own instrument. And if you're going to be a slide guitar player, as he is, you kind of have to just devote yourself to that.
Not to plug anything, but where could a person go to hear a band that has a slide guitar player?
As a matter of fact, we are playing the Super Jam May 28th at Stable Studios. We'll be on the stage from 5 to 6 p.m. So you'll hear him play slide guitar, and you'll even hear him sing a couple songs.
Yep. I was at the last jam. Stable Studios from November to May holds jam sessions, which are anybody can come and play. You do need to let them know you're coming. It costs you $5 a person to come in because the soundboard guy, the electricity, that has to be paid. They're not running these for profit. They're running these to make sure everybody gets taken care of. But then everybody's kind of run through the cycle. Everybody gets to play, and several bands are then invited back to the Super Jam, which is this weekend. And High Street Jack is definitely one of them.
Right. Yeah. And I can't say enough about Stable Studios. You know, that is just the coolest place for anybody that's never been out there. If you like music, you know, from November to May, the first Friday of the month, you've got to go out there.
And $5 for 6+ bands is
oh yeah,
that's a steal. It really
and
is.
these we're not talking about like, you know, junk beginner bands. They're really good.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the best musicians I've heard out there, and because everybody that's there just loves music. You know, they're not selling alcohol, so they're not there to get drunk.
And the variety, it was definitely nice. Started out with what kind of more of a folks rock band. Had some more heavy players. Then had your blues rock. Had a couple of other more cover bands. Ended with a Deja Voodoo.
Yeah.
And a vocalist who just wailed. I mean.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. Let's transition to that. What the bands that played? Which ones did you enjoy the most out of that?
I'm trying to remember exactly who played on that particular night.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, one of the things I enjoy about Deja Voodoo, who is also playing at the Super Jam, is that some of the songs that she sings are from the era of when I was growing up.
Right.
I think the first time I ever heard them play out there, they did "Man in a Box." I think they may have done it last time.
They did a couple Alice in Chains this last time too. Yeah.
I was a huge Alice in Chains fan as a kid. I mean, that was a big thing in the early mid '90s. You know?
Yeah.
Not to go on a wild tangent, but
that's what we do
That's
here.
what we do. Yes.
So I grew up in Idaho. After a couple of years at Boise State, I moved to California and did some random things. Wound up working at A&M Recording Studio.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that was a very strange year or so. And during that time, I got to meet some of my idols.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of developed this notion of the bell curve of fame. You know, if you meet people here, they're really cool. You meet people here, they're not cool at all. You meet people here, they're really cool again.
Mm-hmm.
So Jerry Cantrell, who's the guitar player for Alice in Chains, I got to meet him when he was here, which is, you know, an interesting thing to, you know, to meet your heroes, right? Like, I did also get to meet Brian May, Tony Iommi, and they were super cool, right? I mean, because they're back here, and a few other people like that were just amazingly cool. But after doing that job for, I think, a little over a year, I was like, okay, it's time to go back to school. And it was a bit too much sausage making for me, you know, having to not just see my heroes and, you know, what they were about in the different phases, but also just the industrial nature of hit making was pretty depressing for somebody that really believed in music. And honestly, I left that job and went back to school and, you know, kind of started a career. And I think I didn't listen to anything other than NPR for about a decade, just because I couldn't.
I worked radio for about 7 years. I started out as a DJ, eventually became a music director. This was college level stuff, but we still had so much stuff come in, and it was amazing. You'd meet the people that I would say more authentic, and then you'd meet the people who just thought they were it. So seeing that was it was nice to meet the humble ones that knew where they were, knew how they got there. So I'm calling it up. The band, it wasn't the band that she took. It was like Lazy Day Susan, but she'll be playing May, and the Woozy Bros will be at the.
Right. Yeah, and I forgot just to mention, Hey Hey, who I haven't seen play for a long time, but the bass player in that band is another friend. Lee is another friend from the Blues Jam. You know, the Southern, or Bloomington specifically, has a really cool community of players that are around, and so it's fun to see them. You know,
Get on there.
yeah.
I'm going to kind of tangent back to kind of meeting your heroes. I won't say he was a hero of mine, but I did really enjoy the band The Doors. And I actually got to hang out with John Densmore for an afternoon because he came to the university I was going to, and it was my job to make sure he got to the stage, gave his demo, and then do whatever he wanted to after the show. And I'm like, all right, your show's over. What do you want to do? It's like, I want to go to a bar and sit down. So we went down to the local, it was kind of a microbrewery when they're first starting up. So they were more like Lenny's than anything. This is out in Las Cruces. And we sat there for 3 hours, and he's just buy everybody a couple beers. Some people came by and asked for an interview, and there's 4 of us sitting around the table. And it was just, nothing had really gone to his head, or if it had, he definitely was on the other side of that bell curve because he was just glad he was where it was at and described himself as a mediocre drummer who managed to make it.
Right.
So he's just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny to be in those kind of situations. I don't know how old you were at that time, but you know, I was like 20. I would have been maybe 21, 22-ish when I was working at A&M. And I had this one experience where I'm pretty sure I almost lost my job, but saved for, there's a famous producer named Bob Marlette, the nicest guy ever. We used to call him Uncle Bob because he would treat us like humans. You know, we were just the studio rats that, you know, cleaned up and got food and all that.
Right.
Anyway, this one artist who, you know, I'll just say he had an odd band name. It was something about vandalizing squash or something. Anyway, so he, you know, bald-headed guy, and anyway, he was all dressed up in black, had like this black silk shirt and black leather pants, and he was going to be on Charlie Rose later that night. And so I go up to the lounge, and it's Bob Marlette and this guy, and he's like, you know, what do you want for dinner? And he was pretty on the top of that curve. And he was like, I'm thinking something Cafe Americana. And I was like, well, you know, there's IHOP just like a block away. He's like, look at me. Do I look like I eat at IHOP to you? And in an unfiltered response, I said, well, you're asking a guy that makes minimum wage. And there was dead silence for like what seemed to be an eternity. And then Bob Marlette just busts out laughing. I think because I think he must have been like, how do I save this kid's job, you know? And so he busts out laughing, and then the bald guy says, ha ha, touche. You know, I mean, so, you know, I think now I probably would have edited myself, but I wasn't capable of doing so at the time. But it speaks to the fact that, you know, there are people like Bob Marlette that are in the music industry that really make it all work, you know, despite the talent that's, you know, thinks they're so great.
Right.
Do you think they remember that story?
I don't know, probably not. Um,
When you have the perfect witty response and no one's expecting it,
yeah.
those kinds of things stick in my head.
I kind of hope that's one of those situations where the bald-headed guy is still fuming over like that kid. I can't believe he said that to me.
Yeah.
30 years later, I'm gonna.
Those shower thoughts. It's
Yes.
like you can't remember all the good things that people say about you,
Yeah.
but when somebody has one negative thing, it sticks in your head.
Every time he gets in the shower, he thinks that minimum wage kid.
I really
down.
want Cafe Americano and not IHOP.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine maybe Bob Marlette still thinks about it and laughs himself.
I would hope so. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so there were times like that, But the overall takeaway of what that life was, it was kind of horrifying, to think about, was because I thought maybe I wanted to be a studio engineer or producer, right? And to kind of see all the wreckage that was part of that lifestyle, because
Yeah.
they would come in at noon maybe if they were early risers, and work until 2 a.m. and kind of do that again. So if you try to imagine fitting that into a spouse and some kind of normal life, probably not.
Yeah.
You would have to be your normal, not average normal. Yeah.
Yeah. So and at the time, I was married, and amazingly still married to the same woman, which is amazing.
That's a shout out to you.
Yeah, which is, I'm not going to mention years because, she's 28, and if people start doing the math.
What's the anniversary of her 28th birthday?
Yeah. So her, her birthday's in April. We were married actually in May, so this May 30th is our anniversary.
Awesome.
Happy early.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It'll be a show, then an anniversary.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be I'm sure we'll go out to some nice place to eat.
IHOP.
Yeah. I'm sure it will be IHOP.
Honestly, I'm the sort of person who's like, IHOP's, kind of that's definitely an up there place. It's not a pinky up, but it's,
That's a once a month, definitely splurging a little bit for me.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say, I do feel like I am the luckiest man my wife happens to be beautiful on top of everything else. And she's amazing. One of the difficult things about being a performer is getting weird thoughts in your mind when you're trying to play.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not, they're never productive thoughts. They're like, oh, I can't hear myself in the monitor, or, so-and-so is too loud. Oh, God, did you hear that harmony? And when all of that theater is playing in your mind, you can't do anything good. Well, so my wife, a while back, started studying to become a hypnotherapist, which she is now. And people think it sounds weird, or it's woo-woo or whatever, but it is magical what she can do. Hypnotherapy is like this kind of short circuit to a layer below, all of the conscious mind that's trying to keep everything the same. And so she gave me this thing called an anchor, right? She planted a suggestion about a certain way I'm going to feel whenever my hand is doing this, which is this is how I hold the pick, right? So, since that, all of my shows have been much better. It's not that I never make a mistake or things never go wrong. That still happens all the time, but it's kind of like it allows me to kind of go, huh.
Just pass it on and continue going.
Yes.
Take that next step.
Yeah. So it's another chapter in the continual amazement of this person I'm married to.
Nice. And I know some people do think hypnotherapy is woo-woo. It may or may not be, but that's not the point. Is if you found something that works for you, it can be that. Good example, and I know I'm going way back here, is, you're talking 1500s. How many people are being possessed? You come out forward and look at how far we've advanced with psychological, treatments. Suddenly, not as many people are possessed.
Right.
And people actually find a way to get over, find their anchor,
Right.
and a lot of it is just really being able to get it out and talk. And
Yeah.
Different treatments work for different people.
right.
Acupuncture works great for some people. Hypnotism works great for some people. Smoking works great for some people.
Yeah.
It's everyone has their thing, and whatever works for you, then it works.
Yeah.
Not having to worry about bills works for me.
Yeah.
I need help. Somebody out there, please.
Speaking of which, donate down.
Oh, that's right. Down below. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
that was a weird tangent, I guess.
that's what we do here. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we do.
That's the name of the show.
Yep. Let's see. Where do we want to go from here?
We've got about 15 minutes to
15
go.
minutes.
Hmm.
I thought we were doing like, man, that's like we've talked for like 15 minutes. No, we've talked for 45.
Yeah.
Yep. We used to go for as long as the guest wanted to, but now that the library closes at 8, we
Right.
have to be out by a certain time.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's where we end up going.
Because you're probably one of those guests we could talk for hours
Oh, yeah.
and hours with.
Our longest show just broke 2 hours, and that was because the guest finally was getting tired, and you can see him kind of,
We used
Yep.
to go from 9 o'clock at night until,
the person was done.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
11 o'clock, 11:15. People start to get tired, especially people who have day jobs
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, or they're like, we had Ben Williams from the Civilian, which is a microbrew just 2 blocks from here.
Delicious restaurant.
Yeah, great food, and he brought a couple of growlers of beer, and yeah, we didn't get slosh. I think I drank maybe 2 beers in 2 hours or something like that, but it was still one of those. It's like that's some really good stuff because one, it's local. 2, it's literally just
Right.
a building next door.
Yeah. I know you mentioned earlier that you, in your day job, visit breweries and whatnot.
Yep.
I don't know if you know a friend of mine, Joe McCadden.
Y-
Um,
I recognize that name.
yeah.
That's who
Funny thing
brews.
is, I'm almost being asked. So,
That's who brews for Civilian.
oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So as it turns out,
Mhm.
fantastic musician.
Yeah, I helped make an underwriting plot for them or spot that played at the Tivoli,
Yeah.
and they came up with the music and the lyrics, and I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he actually does. He is such a cool guy, and he decided to turn his garage once a month
Mhm.
into a performance space
Nice.
called Hannigan Palace. So on our YouTube channel, I did some video and audio-video recording of our show there, and so there's a couple live cuts that are pretty good. Anyway, but if you watch on Facebook for shows at Hannigan Palace, he does it. I want to say it's roughly the last Saturday, or I might be a little wrong. It's one Saturday a month, and it's just. I think his phrase is "It's open to all good humans," and it's not a alcohol thing or nothing. It's just music. So he usually has like 3 bands. It's similar vibe to Stable Studios,
But smaller.
smaller, yeah,
Mhm.
and just super cool guy, and amazing musician, but. I'm not sure where I wanted to go with this, other than I wanted to mention Hannigan Palace.
We should try to get him out here sometime.
Mhm.
He'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
kind of
and
The whole circle, bringing it back around to Civilian, back to music, and all that.
Yeah, I thought perhaps you would know him because I know he works.
I
at
do,
the
but I
brewery.
don't know
Yeah.
the name. But and that's actually one of the bars I don't service. So kind of sort of dropped a hint at it once or twice, but I don't really want to be pushy on Ben.
Right.
Speaking of trying to get him back in, but they are so busy there. It's like when he has a break, he'll let me know.
Right.
So
I was just talking to Sam before I came here. They used to serve about 60 plates a night during the winter and about 130 plates a night during the summer thing.
yeah,
They're up to 130 plates a night during the winter and pushing 200 during the summer.
and it's a small kitchen.
Yeah,
I smell expansion.
yeah.
You know, though, I've got to complain though, Ben. It's Monday. I really would have liked to have eaten there.
I used to work with my old assistant at the grocery store. Got his culinary degree and works there now. Gage, I believe I've mentioned him.
Yep.
He was saying that their cheese sticks that they've been putting out.
They're not sticks. They're bricks. They're cheese bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That people are raving about those, and it was the worst idea that he ever had for them, kind of thing. Because now he gets asked to do them
All the time.
all of the time.
Yeah. And now they have a Korean corn dog, which is a corn dog covered in cheese, covered in something fried. I don't know the whole thing. And I was just kidding Ben about being open on Monday and Tuesdays because with how much they work and how much they do, 1, they need to make sure the beer is good. 2, they need to clean up. 3, they need time off.
Right.
And I just have to change my schedule so I'm in town when they're open.
Yep. Ford, I think it's been a good day for all of us. He says, "Hey guys, hope it's been a good day for you all."
Yes, it has, Ford. Thanks for checking in on us. Ford is our regular. He's actually a friend of mine I went to college with, and he got wind of this, and he checks in when he can. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to plug anybody that's watching this for the first time, and I know you guys would probably appreciate if they hit the subscribe button. I know
Absolutely. Yeah.
when people come to our YouTube channel, we appreciate if you hit the subscribe button.
Comment, subscribe.
Yes,
that whole
yes,
thing.
Because that's a lot of the algorithm right there is they're looking for interaction between viewers. They're looking for how long you watch and whether you liked it or disliked it. So even though they don't show dislikes anymore, that's still a positive in favor of the channel.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's all this weird thing. We're doing all this work to put out music that we love, right? Or in your case, content that you find interesting. But and there's no financial reason. I mean, it's a negative income stream.
Labor of love.
Yeah.
But
I would love to make money off this. Don't get me wrong. I would love to make money, but I really enjoy doing this. And this brings me back to the time when I was a DJ and I was doing this thing. And the format has changed so much that it is really a free form aspect.
Right.
And I really like it. Jeremiah supports me. Sam supports me. We've got a lot of friends who are in this, and we really try to help spread the word for other artists that, hey, would you have known of this person if it wasn't for me?
right.
Or I didn't know about you. I want to show you off to the people out there.
Right.
And we've had everybody from, we've had music and film producers on here, all local, because we try to do pretty much Indiana. We had Fins and Fangs, which is a pet store that opened up here in Spencer just a month ago. Barely been a month. We've had Ben. We have all sorts of entrepreneurs and
Both
artists.
Bens.
Both Bens, yeah, that's true. And so we try to give everybody an opportunity.
And people, it's funny how I'll tell people about a new release or something, and they'll go. I'll send them a link so they'll, YouTube is free. You can go listen to it, and they'll text me, "Oh, that's great," and this long dissertation on how great it is, but then I'll look. There's like 5 likes,
Or 3 views.
Yeah. So it's like, and so I've really kind of gotten off of because you can get obsessed with that. But if you are a fan of someone that creates content, the sort of the easiest way, it doesn't cost anything to push a button down,
Give that thumbs up.
Yeah.
And again, I'll say it again. If you feel like it, thumbs down are welcome as well.
Right.
So, because opinions count. So, we get a lot of different stuff in here, and I really do want to try to bring in more. Did you hear that when I hit the?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. My thumb people. I want to bring more in musicians and more artists, and literally help get everybody's word out who's out there. And so, if you know anybody else who might be interested, send them our way.
Yeah.
Give them their 59 minutes of entertainment.
Take away one for shameless plugs.
Right.
Or, oh, wait, speaking of, we do have to take away a couple minutes here. As most of our viewers know, the 5 minutes, okay. The Owen County Public Library, which is where we broadcast from, is going to have their annual film festival. And Jeremiah is trying to figure out what I'm doing for the film festival. Jeremiah, what's your guest today?
I kind of thought it was going to be like a musical horror thing where you have somebody going around and predicting people's deaths, like Final Destination style.
But musical.
But yeah, in musical. And it's really some music student somewhere is dissecting all this information and analyzing chord changes, timbres, harmonies. And he's always just like a day too late to find out who the next victim is.
I see the music being more lo-fi that's been coming out, lo-fi
Yeah.
hip-hop or something.
Yeah, bass drums.
Yeah, that's a great idea, but you're totally wrong.
I thought I was close.
We technically have one more guess, but as next Monday is Memorial Day, library will be closed and we will not be, or basically we're going to take the day off ourselves. Something I don't like to do, but we do when we have to. But that's it. And if he guesses, I lose. If he doesn't guess, he's going to join our Patreon. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yep.
Speaking of the Patreon, standards will be not standards, but tiers will be changing because I'm going to gear it towards our D&D podcast. So
Cool.
Yep. He's going to lose.
I'm going to figure it out.
You got one more try.
Mm-hmm.
And
I really appreciate you guys, doing this and let me come and kind of plug the show and talk about the band.
What show?
Once again, we are playing May 28th at Stable Studios at the Super Jam. High Street Jack will be playing from 5 to 6, but there's a whole bunch of bands. It's $10 to get in, but it's a whole day of music and free camping if you want to stay.
my phone will open up. We have at 3 o'clock, Zach Mesa, and then at 3:45, Hey Hey. 5 o'clock is High Street Jack. 6:15 is May and the Woozy Bros, who are supposed to be coming on either the 13th or the 20th for this show. Head First, which I haven't heard them, Heavy Heartland, and Deja Voodoo. Deja Voodoo is another band. Actually, I'd love to all these guys come on, but Deja Voodoo is one I really want to bring on so everybody can hear her voice. She projects. She's got power. She can do it. And I'll close this part of the show by saying anytime you guys want to come on and promote something, contact me. We'll make arrangements. We'll either pre-record it and get it out there, or we'll do it live again.
Cool.
This setup is somewhat portable because I have to haul it home every time I'm done.
Right.
For now.
Yeah, for now. And we're trying to set up something kind of permanent. Trying to.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you guys very much.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And don't forget, you can check out Hill Street Jack's music in the description on YouTube. So if you're on Twitch, run over to YouTube, Radioactive Shack, look for my face, and then hit the link and check out their music. I would recommend Insomnia. That's my favorite off that list.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time there? Is it time?
1 minute.
Yeah, and I'll just plug the website, highstreetjack.com. If all the other stuff is hard to remember, highstreetjack.com is
And that's
pretty easy.
also in the YouTube description.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and say the magic words, please. Ha ha, you were almost going to do it. Jeremiah, good night, everybody. Push the button.